And I sort of felt you get older, I don't talk about my current sex life for the same reason I don't talk about climbing trees.
The great and the noble Frank Skinner! Way! This is where we need tinned applause.
I'm going to clap as well, just to thicken it up. I'm just going to add a bit of stock to your applause.
When you did start becoming famous, what was the spark? Was it the sort of, if you like, the comedic brotherhood with David Baddiel?
Well, I think it all happened in two pubs in the West Midlands, a place called the Bear Tavern and a place in King's Heath. And I used to do one of every Wednesday and one every Thursday. And those gigs, I used to host it, and I used to bring acts down from London. And it was crammed, and I became world famous in Birmingham, basically. The atmosphere, I don't think I've ever achieved that level of just joy, because when I started those gigs, I still wasn't quite sure whether I could do comedy to the standards that I hoped. And about 10 gigs in, a friend said to me, "You've really got it now, haven't you?" And I thought, you know what, I have. And I remember Alan Davis, the comic, said to me, it's like a sort of Frank rally, those shows. And that gave me a bedrock of confidence. I thought, if I can do it locally like this, I can do it nationally.
Yeah. What was the secret to your brotherhood with David Baddiel? I mean, you were great mates to begin with. He, like you, is a phenomenal intellect. Why did you two work, do you think?
I remember very early on, he said to me, "You're a dangerous thinker, aren't you?" Which I'd never really, no one had ever said that to me before.
That should be the title of your memoir.
And when I thought about him, he went on about original thought and the importance of original thought. And I hadn't really heard anything like that since I did a dissertation at Warwick University, and they said it had to be an original contribution to the field, I remember. And I was just very impressed by him. I hadn't met anyone like him before. I'd never met anyone with that level of education, with that level of smartness, and that level of original thought, just thinking about things differently. And I suppose I slightly fell in love with him, really. And I got chucked out by a woman I was living with, and he said, "You can, stay on my sofa for 3 nights," and I stayed for 7 years.
If you look back now through the wonders of YouTube to the moment where literally tens of millions of people in this country were singing your song, how did it make you feel?
Well, it was an incredible, I suppose that kid playing in the park who wanted to be a footballer, I was sort of on the team in Euro 96. We used to get to the players' lounge after and stuff like that. It's, people would call out to us in the street about the results and stuff. We were almost, playing for England.
And you were there presumably when Southgate missed the penalty at Wembley.
Yeah.
I think Keir Starmer was there, interestingly,
wasn't he really?
At the game, yeah. So the two of you are these sort of national icons. And it must have felt, it must have been weird, because you sort of, where's your career go after that? I mean, it's gone great places, which we'll come to, but it doesn't get much better than that. At a time when TV viewing was enormous, Euro 96, England, the semi-finals.
It was a glorious summer. I think we were there was a hiatus when the sort of horrible nature of being at an England game, the threat of it, which we saw in the last Euros that were happening at Wembley when they, broke into the stadium. I was with my kid, and we saw stewards being threatened and stuff. There seemed to be this perfect summer, and there just seemed to be a happier mood about the whole thing. And it did. I remember saying to Dave, who's not always that appreciative of things going well, I always think because he went from Cambridge, he worked for 2 days in a second-hand bookshop, and then he became a professional comedian. I had some really horrible jobs in the West Midlands, and I think that made me appreciate it more. But I kept saying to him, this is our perfect summer. We will never experience anything like this again.
Yeah, and that's obviously in the moment incredibly exciting, but it does have kind of psychological challenges for afterwards. The central line of that song, if not image, is 30 years of hurt never stopped us dreaming. And it's a pun on that idea, 30 years of hurt, that's given you 30 years of dirt, which is the title of your live show now. And as I understand, I've not seen it, but if I'm in London in August, I might try to. But the idea of that is partly about how you look back on your comedy from that time, and it's made you kind of reflect on how you as a comedian have changed. If you did watch those sketches, maybe if there was footage of you in the Bear Tavern and the comedy, obviously you see yourself even younger and incredibly good looking and all that palaver, I'm sure. But what would you make of the comedic content?
Well, sometimes even on like videos of me from when, from the 90s, I see myself do a joke and I think, oh, I wouldn't do that now.
Because
it might be, it's a joke I now find a bit offensive. And it's interesting this because the most asked question, well done for not asking it so far, is can you do stand-up comedy in the age of woke politics?
cancel culture and all that.
Yeah, and all that stuff. But my comedy is very autobiographical. I don't make anything up. It's just things that have happened in my life, which I then, I process through my sort of comedy head. And so it's the other way around. I think I change and then my acts change. And all this recent woke politics of the last 10 years has had an effect on me. I've become a parent during that period. And I have, when I was growing up in the West Midlands, I got to be brutal that, racist language, sexist language, homophobia, it was absolutely the norm. It wasn't that I wasn't listening to the alternate voice. There was no alternate voice. I didn't even question it. But I do question it now, and I've questioned it, a lot. I think most of us have in recent years. I don't feel forced or bullied by woke politics. I feel educated by it. And so I see stuff now and I think, I wouldn't do that now. But at the same time, it's healthy to think that because I don't want to think of my life in stasis. This is a problem, I think, when people get done for historical things they said or done. I think the idea that we can improve, the idea that you can rethink your attitudes, there's no point in woke politics if that doesn't work.
So what's the central premise of 30 Years of Dirt?
Well, it's about the fact that I've been for 30 years known as, in my stand-up life, as basically a blue comedian. I mean, it's, a lot of it has been about sex, almost all of that, those 30 years of stand-up. And I sort of felt you get older, I don't talk about my current sex life for the same reason I don't talk about climbing trees. And so I thought it's time to change and to become more sophisticated and to clean up a bit because older people, and this is definitely ageist, but older people being rude sometimes can be a bit unsettling. And basically, I failed in that task. So the show is a mix of some, I like to think, clean and clever stuff and some dirty and clever stuff. I've always voted Labour, but when I hear Labour talking about, people who earn this and blah, 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 I think, but I had nothing. I worked really hard. I thought you'd like me. I thought I'd be a poster boy. I just think when it's things like inheritance tax and stuff like that you should be in a special section if you crawled up from nothing. That I shouldn't be in the same section as the Rees-Mogg children. That seems wrong. I think pretentious is probably my least favourite word because I think it's a word used by stupid people as a weapon against intelligent people. And I don't like it.